Hey everybody, this is the first video of the workbook, God Will Provide. God provides provision for us. And we're going to talk about the story of Joseph in the Bible. And not just Joseph, but we're also going to touch a little bit about his dad and his mother. Because I think there's some elements of that story that can help explain a few things here. So the story of Joseph, we always hear about, maybe in the Bible, you always hear about the one, the father made him a coat of many colors. We have like little kids, Sunday school or vacation Bible school, those type of things is what I remember as a child. That's the one with the coat of many colors that his dad made him. And his brothers were jealous. And we're going to stop right there. Let me give you the scriptures first. Genesis chapter 37 and then 39 through 41 talk about the entire story of Joseph. And his brothers were jealous, and to the point they wanted to murder him. But before we go there, I want to go back to his mother and father. So his father Jacob, the name Jacob means supplanter. And this is the one who had a twin brother Esau, and he coerced his brother to kind of maybe took advantage of him and said, listen, his brother came in, was hungry, and he says, hey, if you give me a bowl of soup or porridge, and he said, well, sell me the birthright and I'll feed you. And so he kind of takes advantage of it. And his brother, he didn't make him do it, but Esau says, take it, what good is it? He didn't really have God's interest at heart, is what that meant. And then as time went on, there was a blessing that was going to be given out. And he and his mother conspired against Esau. And the father he couldn't see very well, and he blessed him, so he got the blessing. Esau's very angry. He has to get out of there. So he goes to his mother's land, to the place where his uncle was Laban, his mother's brother. He goes there to try to find a wife. And he sees Rachel, this pretty thing that he sees there. And so he works and he says, hey, Mr. Laban, uncle, I want to marry her. And he said, give me 7 years of servitude and I'll let you marry. So he works 7 years. He's receiving his bride after 7 long years. Now the Bible said he was so happy, it didn't seem like hardly anything, or at least that was on the second go around, as we'll get to it. He takes his bride there and is ready to kind of, shall we say, salute her in the marriage chamber, and uncovers her with the veil, and it's Leah. It's not Rachel. It's his sister, or her sister, that is. He didn't want Leah. He really, really liked Rachel. And so he goes to Laban and he says, man, what is this? I work for Rachel. And he said, well, my custom is I got to marry the oldest daughter first. So he said, give me another 7 years and you can marry her too. So you already had Mr. Jacob, whose name that meant supplanter. It was kind of a trickster. So he does all this, and Laban's kind of doing the same thing to him. So he marries Leah. He does know her, as the Bible says, and she does bear children. But the Bible clearly says she was well aware that was not his first choice. She was not the first choice. She knew that he really, really loves my sister, and that she was in some ways despised. So she has children. She is very fruitful. The two of them, very fruitful. He works the 7 years, gets Rachel. Rachel can't have anything. And God shut it down because it's like, well, the way you're treating Leah, I'm not going to let Rachel have anything. Also, in the course of time, both of these sisters have handmaids. And like I said, read the story. This is in Genesis chapter 29, somewhere around in there. Read that about this story about Mr. Jacob and Rachel and down there in the land where Laban is. So in time, they have reasons why they say, hey, take their handmaids and go and know them. They know them. They have children. So now he's got children by 4 different women, because eventually God opened up the womb of Rachel. He let her have a couple. So at a certain time, he's got to head back. He's heading back. He is wealthy. He has gotten a lot of, Laban kind of took advantage of him. He kind of comes up with this process where he gets all the nice, healthy cattle. So he kind of, Mr. Supplanter, he's doing the same trickeration with his uncle. He gets all the good cattle. He's heading back home, but he's not quite sure what his brothers. My brother's still angry. Now he's been gone a long time now. 7 years for Leah, 7 years for Rachel. That's obviously 14. Longer than that before he heads back home. So he heads back home. And this is the point I wanted to get to. Because he heads back home and he's like, man, my brother may still be angry at me. And he may really want to take my head off. He may try to kill me. So tell you what, I have a lot of stuff here. I got a lot of cattle, a lot of things. So I'm going to come up with a pecking order. So what he does, he puts the handmaids and their children up front. Now, understand now. These are his kids. They're from his loin. These are his children. But he says, handmaids, y'all go first. If my brother comes out and is angry and going to try to kill somebody, he'll get you first. And the rest of us can try to get away. Okay, Leah, you going to go second. And those children I have with you, you're going to be second in line. So if he gets them, and then if he gets through that, and then he comes and try to get somebody else, and we still haven't been gotten away, he'll get you second. The one he really loved and those children, Rachel, you hang back here with me, will have the best chance to get away. Now stop right there. These children that Leah had to be somewhere doing rough math. They had to be teenagers at this time. 7 years and 7 years, 14. These kids had to be teenagers. Some of them were teenagers. They were up there. They were well old enough to perceive a couple things. Number one, Daddy don't seem to like my mama as much. Definitely not the handmaids. He really loves Rachel. He doesn't seem to like my mother. Okay, that. He's probably showing preferences. He's already showing it by a pecking order. This is not just, well, it's my inheritance. I'll give you a little bit. I'm going to give the ones with Rachel, I'll give them more. No, there's nothing about that. This is life and death. And he's like, you go first. So if he wants to kill somebody, he'll get you first. How do you think that made people feel? How do you think Rachel felt, or not Rachel, but Leah felt, knowing that you have a husband and he doesn't really like me as much as my sister? He really, really, pines her. He really loves her. All of us people are very perceptive. In certain things, you don't have to teach us anything. Back in the old church, you used to have this thing where nobody ever taught this. I don't remember them ever saying anything about this, but when I first got out in an apostolic church, if you wanted to go to the restroom, people would get up and they'd put a finger up. And they'd come walking, and they'd walk out. And I was thinking, and nobody taught this. I just saw it, and it's like, is that what you're supposed to do? So nobody said anything. And then people just started doing. People who joined the church after me, same thing. There they get up, and they got the finger up. Where'd that come from? I don't even know where it came from. But nobody taught it, but we saw somebody do it. And we think, oh, that's the way it's supposed to be done. And that's with adults. Children are also perceptive. Children can see how parents treat each other. Children can see if you prefer one over the other. Oh, they absolutely can. And you wonder why the brothers were jealous? It started there. Now, when we get to the story of Joseph, we're going to talk about these dreams that he had. Now, the first dream that Joseph had is that he had his dream and he saw these stalks of grain, and these ones for each one for his brother and one for him, and they bowed to his stalk. They bowed to him. And then the other one that he had this dream of sun, moon, and some stars, the stars represent his brother, sun and the moon, it's mom and dad. They're all bowing to him. Now, there was no problem with interpreting these. The brothers knew what it was and they were angry. What are you talking about that we're going to be bowing to you? Daddy already likes you more, and now you're going to tell us this? And even when he told his father, Jacob, and also when you read the scripture, you'll see sometimes it refers to him as Jacob, sometimes it refers to him as Israel. Remember, if you didn't know, God changed his name because he said, I can't have you being supplanter anymore. You've been Jacob, Mr. Supplanter, but when he came back, God said, I'm changing your name. So in the scriptures here, you'll see sometimes it'll say Jacob, sometimes it says Israel. That's why they always say the children of Israel, obviously. They're talking about Jacob. They're talking about the same person. So even Jacob is like, he's kind of wroth. He's like, wait a minute. And the Bible, I believe, said he rebuked him. He said, what are you talking about? Your mother and I are going to be bowing down to you. But then a few verses later said he's kind of thought about it. He pondered it. So you have this jealousy here. So to the point to where the brothers are like, we're going to kill him. Can't stand it. We've had enough of him. We're going to kill him. One brother says, no, let's not do this. So they put him down in the hole. They're thinking, but they're talking about it. So eventually, the one brother takes off, and the other brother said, well, let's not kill him. There were some people, a caravan heading toward Egypt. They sold him. So now he's a slave. He winds up in this man named Potiphar's house. And Potiphar was a very wealthy man in Egypt. And because the mantle of God was already on Joseph, the favor of God was on him. The Spirit of God was on him. He didn't really know for what. The dream just said people are going to be bowing. Your family's going to be bowing to you. Didn't say what his ministry really was or his calling really was. So here he is in Potiphar's house. And he's sitting there, and Potiphar's like, man, this guy is blessed. And everything that he had Joseph do prospered. So he just kept putting more and more and more on him, and it just kept prospering. And he's just like, man, this man is blessed, and he's just blessing my stuff. But then he had a little problem, and Potiphar's wife wants to get with him, and she's after him now. And he's like, nope, I'm not going to sin. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. And one day she gets real close to him, grabs his garment, he walks out the garment, and then she says, look, he tried to advance upon me. He tried to have his way with me. So Potiphar puts him in jail. So he's down in the jail. Same thing. Expedite this story. Same thing. He's in jail. The jailers see the blessing of God. They see the favor of God, the Spirit of God upon him, and they put him over everybody in the jail. Now, I remember one time there was a mother in the church back in the day. She said, he just kept going down. They put him down in a hole. She said he used to call going down into Egypt. And then he went down in a dungeon. So when he's in the dungeon, a couple of guys from the king's court, one was a cupbearer, the other one was a baker. They come in there and they have a couple of dreams. God gives him the interpretation of the dreams. For the cupbearer, he says, he interpreted the dream and said, within 3 days, you're going to be right back there serving the king. Everybody's going to be fine. He's mad at you now. He's not going to be mad at you then. For the baker, man, he interpreted that dream and he said, man, in 3 days, you're going to be dead. And it goes in very graphic detail, a little bit of graphic detail about what's going to happen to him. But he's going to be killed. And sure enough, in 3 days, those things happened. So Joseph says, now remember me now, remember me. He told the cupbearer, please now, God help me, you help me. Man, he gets up there and totally forgets about it. He was down in that jail doing that thing, being large and in charge, but still bound. And he was there for 2 years. Then Pharaoh has a dream. And Pharaoh has 2 dreams too. There's always these 2 things here. Joseph had the 2, Pharaoh had 2. Pharaoh had these dreams, one with, I think also had something to do with grain, the other was with cows. And it was always with the cows, 7 good cows, nice and fat, nice and healthy, and then 7 cows that were scrawny, looked like they was just going to fall over. And so the cupbearer then remembered, said, wait a minute, nobody can interpret these dreams, but there's a man I remember down in the jail cell. He can probably do this. They get him, and he says, God gave me the interpretation very quickly. And he says, what this means, the cows, the fat cows, those are 7 good years. Man, you're going to plant, and it's just going to be an abundance of things. Beautiful, wonderful things. But then there's going to come a famine. Pharaoh's so happy. Same thing. He's happy. He sees the favor of God upon him. And he's like, listen, man, I need to put you in charge of everything. If God did this, then I'm going to put you in charge. And he puts him in charge up until, like, he says, nobody's greater than you except me. You're not going to be Pharaoh. But other than that, up to me. They give him a fancy wife, and he has children, and he is taking care of business, and he is building. I wonder what that looked like, building all these storage houses. And what were the people thinking? Like, man, why are you building all this stuff? They had no idea what was going to come their way. But he built all that, put the construction projects together, gathered up all that stuff. And then here comes the trouble. And of course it hits his brethren. And they come down there. You probably maybe know the story. They come down there. They don't know it's him. He speaks Egyptian. He speaks Hebrew and Egyptian. But the Bible said he made himself unknown to them. But he was just emotional when he saw them. He cried. I think one time he said he had to remove himself and go and cry in the back and wash his face and come back out. He was hard on him. He was like, man, y'all lying and you're doing this and doing that. But he knew they were. And he said, wait, don't you have another brother? Yeah, we have another brother. He said, well, you bring him back here. And he does all those type of things. And then they go back and tell the dad and everything. And it's one, spoiler alert, it's all mended and they're all happy. The family, he makes himself known to them. And everybody it's a nice, happy ending. Now, how did God provide? We just want to touch on a couple of things here because, number one, God had a famine was going to come. Why? Now, we're going to touch on this in the second video. I'm mentioning it here, but we're going to get into more depth with it in the second video because many of us, why do they have to be famines? Why do they have to be storms? Why do they have to be droughts? And I'm going to get into that story. I mentioned it in the overview. In the second video, I'm going to talk about the blind man who was born that way. Why does anybody have to be born blind? And is it a result of sin or is it because of something else? Because I've been around church folks sometimes, and we church folks, we have this linear way of thinking. And it's like, something must have happened. You did something wrong because all these bad things are happening to you. Did Joseph sin? No, he didn't. He didn't sin at all. He hadn't done anything, not from what I can see in the scriptures. Just the favor of God. But God has a way in how he develops and how he does things and how he uses us to show himself to others as he works through us. And he does it with unusual ways. But he was going to provide for the family with food. But he also, when he was in Potiphar's house and said, hey, we're going to put all this stuff in your hand. God was teaching him how to lead right there and how to be an administrator. He was teaching him how to govern. And before you get a whole country, a whole nation that you're going to have to be able to be an administrator to be able to administer grain and do all this and be able to govern it all, not just with Egypt, but all the surrounding people. They didn't have any food because they didn't know the famine was coming. Egypt had it. So he had to learn how to do that. He learned it started with Potiphar, and then he also did it in the jail cell where he was learning how to be a leader there too. He provided training. It's not just about food, folks. The same thing, in the Bible where it talks about the brother Job, where he was going through some things, and then people said, you must have sinned. Man, just tell the truth. You sinned, you did something. Not necessarily the case. And so we're going to get into more detail in the second video. But God provides training. He provided natural food for the family and for all of the other surrounding people. For people there, I kind of call myself, as I'm getting ready to end this video, an amateur Egyptologist. I love hearing about finding burial chambers or if they find some temple or something in Egypt. I love those videos. I like them all. I've seen stuff about Vikings and stuff about people in South America and those tribes down there, the Incas and Mayans and whatever, all those groups there, if I'm saying them, using the right names for them. I love seeing that stuff in archaeology. Don't look at it all the time, but I like it. I don't ever remember them talking about Egyptians believing in the one and true God. I've heard them talking about, they worship this God, they worship that God, but not the true God. But they recognized God upon Joseph. They recognized it, and they honored it, and they put him forward, and they acknowledged God. It wasn't just Joseph. Your God is with you. You understand that God provides, and he's going to use us. That's why it's not always just a straight path that makes logical, natural sense. God does things unusually so that you will see, that people will see, there's no way that could have been Mark. There's no way that could have been Sarah. There's no way that could have been Bob. That's the power of God. And that is why the power of God must rest upon you. When there's a calling on your life, an anointing comes. It doesn't mean you're fully trained. But God will take you through the training to prepare you before He ever puts you in the spot. He provides. So on the second video, please go to that one. We'll talk about that and we'll get a little bit deeper into some of the things about how God is a provider and how He heals. Because the last thing I'll say here, the other thing as that story ends, the jealousy had to end. So we're going to get into that in a second. So He provided in that way too and caused healing to come to the brothers and to Joseph himself.